This is the view from an airplane from KTLA photographer Paul Sanchez as he's giving us an aerial perspective to the devastation in the Palisades. Sky 5 unable to fly due to a temporary flight restriction put in.
I know you lost a friend.
I did lose a friend, and for our church, it's really tender, so I don't feel like I should talk about her yet. But yeah, I did lose a friend who did not get out in time, and
in shelters and to help with social emotional and to make sure that to work with hand in hand with the Red Cross to make sure that shelters are set up for little babies and moms and kids and fathers. And
Jennifer Lopez's latest effort to raise donations for the Red Cross amid the raging Los Angeles wildfires has sparked a heated discussion, but not entirely for the right reasons. While J.Lo is encouraging her fans to contribute, Jennifer Garner has been seen on the front lines, personally assisting victims and first responders. Adding fuel to the fire, rumors suggest that Ben Affleck isn't thrilled with his ex-wife's approach, especially when compared to Garner's hands-on efforts. This contrast has led many to question whether J.Lo's actions are a genuine attempt to give back or just another PR move to polish her image. The courts indicate that J.Lo has canceled all her upcoming appearances, including interviews on The View, Live with Kelly and Mark, and The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, to focus on raising awareness and aid for the wildfire victims. According to a source close to the actress, she feels it's crucial to support the Los Angeles community during this challenging time. However, this seemingly noble gesture has drawn criticism. J.Lo has shared donation links, asking her fans, many of whom are regular working-class people, to contribute. Critics have been quick to highlight that as a multimillionaire, J.Lo has the resources to make a significant impact without asking others to bear the financial burden. She teases on The Good Place story. The situation bears a resemblance to the backlash Oprah Winfrey and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson faced during the 2023 Maui fires, when they asked the public to donate to a relief fund despite their own immense wealth. Much like that scenario, people are now questioning why billionaires and multimillionaires with vast financial resources feel the need to seek contributions from those far less fortunate. Critics argue that these public figures could easily fund these efforts themselves, rather than placing the burden on everyday people who may already be struggling financially.
Person who called me and said, "What can I do?" This is what you can do. The People's Fund of Maui.
On the surface, J.Lo's initiative might seem like a noble gesture, but many aren't convinced. Critics argue that Jennifer Lopez isn't exactly known for her generosity, and it appears not everyone is buying her newfound charitable focus. Adding to the skepticism, sources suggest that Ben Affleck, who finalized his tumultuous divorce from J.Lo earlier this month, isn't convinced either. Reports claim that Ben believes J.Lo's public campaign for donations is more about drawing attention to herself than about genuine concern for the wildfire victims. Insiders close to the actor suggest he sees this as an attempt to divert attention from the wave of negative press J.Lo has been facing recently. Meanwhile, Ben, who has been navigating personal challenges in co-parenting with his ex-wife Jennifer Garner, might find it hard to view J.Lo's efforts as purely altruistic. After all, their relationship has been riddled with drama, and it's no secret that their split didn't end on the best terms. To complicate matters further, Jennifer Garner has been spotted physically assisting in the community, lending a helping hand to those directly impacted by the fires. Her on-the-ground efforts stand in stark contrast to J.Lo's high-profile campaign, further fueling the debate about who's truly stepping up during this crisis.
have to try to slow it down and also just really emotionally support the kids who lost their school, their home, their church, their playground, our little playground down here, just the community. We've got to really do some social emotional.
Unlike J.Lo, who has been sharing donation links from the comfort of her luxury mansion, Jennifer Garner has taken a hands-on approach. Garner was spotted volunteering with World Central Kitchen, a nonprofit organization founded by renowned chef Jose Andres. Her efforts weren't just for show. She didn't simply drop by for a quick photo op. Instead, she was actively distributing meals to first responders and families affected by the fires, demonstrating a genuine commitment to helping those in need.
And she lives in Palisades for many years, and I think you recognize her, Carrie. And she lives in Brentwood, and she came today to see the place where she has spent so many years. and where she has so many friends.
During an interview with Katie Cook, Jennifer Garner humbly downplayed her involvement, saying, 0% of it is about me because I have my home and I am safe. She spoke about the shocking devastation she witnessed firsthand and emphasized how the community hasn't even begun to process the scale of the tragedy. This humility has only added to the praise Garner is receiving, especially when compared to J.Lo's more detached approach to the crisis. To make matters even more awkward, reports suggest that Ben Affleck didn't stay at J.Lo's $2 million mansion when the wildfires began to rage. Instead, he reportedly sought refuge at his ex-wife Jennifer Garner's nearby home. According to TMZ, Affleck was evacuated from his Pacific Palisades residence and headed to Garner's house in Brentwood, further highlighting the stark contrast in how the two women have approached the disaster. It's unclear whether Ben Affleck headed to Jennifer Garner's home purely for safety or to check on their 3 children, but one thing is certain, this move didn't exactly help J.Lo's image. It only adds to the growing skepticism about her recent acts of charity. People are questioning the sincerity of her efforts, and the drama surrounding her former assistant Jilly doesn't help. Jilly, who made headlines in 2013 when she left her job as J.Lo's assistant to work for Mariah Carey, allegedly quit due to some serious issues within J.Lo's household. According to inside sources, J.Lo's then-boyfriend Casper Smart had too much control over the staff and reportedly demanded everyone call him Mr. Smart. He even went so far as to order Jilly around, making her fetch drinks for him like a personal servant. The most shocking part? J.Lo never intervened to stop this behavior. This kind of drama only adds to the perception that J.Lo may be more focused on her public image than on genuine, selfless acts of charity. Instead of stepping in, J.Lo seemingly allowed this behavior to continue, leading many to question her sense of professionalism and basic respect for her employees. Letting someone disrespect your staff in such a way doesn't scream kindness, it screams entitlement.
All of a sudden we were told the next guest is on her way. It's Jennifer Lopez. You guys need to clear the room. Everybody needs to... And suddenly there was an instant panic. And again, I've been to doing a lot of talk shows in the green room with a lot of actors, and I'd never had that experience.
But the issues didn't stop with her assistant. J.Lo also managed to alienate some of her most loyal collaborators, like Scott Barnes, her longtime makeup artist. Scott had been by her side for years, helping her craft some of her most iconic looks. However, when a leak about her plans to marry Marc Anthony hit the media, J.Lo didn't hesitate to point fingers at him. This move left many questioning J.Lo's loyalty and whether she truly values those who have supported her for so long. Without so much as a conversation, J.Lo fired Scott Barnes and instructed her entire team to cut ties with him. According to Scott, he was blindsided by the accusations, as he wasn't involved in the leak at all, yet no one gave him a chance to explain himself. He spent months being shunned by J.Lo's inner circle, treated like he was guilty until proven innocent. Eventually, the truth came out. Scott wasn't the leak. But instead of offering a heartfelt apology, J.Lo reportedly called him up and simply asked him to come back to work. No apology, no acknowledgement of how she had wronged him. Just a request for him to return. And here's the kicker. Scott agreed, but he was reportedly given strict rules for drivers. This brings us to another layer of J.Lo's behavior. Her allegedly wild demands to her drivers. It seems as though her reputation for treating those around her with a lack of respect continues to be a point of contention. According to a viral TikTok, J.Lo's personal drivers are required to follow a list of rules so strict that it's reportedly driving people away from working with her. One woman shared that her father, who worked for a transportation company that frequently dealt with J.Lo, outright refused to drive for her after hearing about her difficult attitude. To tech.
Number one, when she has drivers, the number one rule she has for them is they can't look at her, they can't talk to her, and her luggage is never allowed to touch the ground. If any of those things happen, she will go out of her way to make sure you get fired. Even if you have to look in the rear view mirror while you're driving.
Some of the rules are bizarre, like not speaking to her unless spoken to first, not looking at her directly, and get this, not even glancing at her through the rear view mirror. And if any of these rules are broken, the driver risks being fired on the spot. Imagine being scolded just for making eye contact with her. But the real kicker? J.Lo reportedly has another peculiar rule. Her luggage must never touch the ground. Think about that for a second. Handling heavy luggage without letting it touch the ground, especially when you're always on the go, it's next level impossible, yet that's the expectation. If drivers can't meet these high demands, they're out. It's clear that her entitled behavior extends beyond her employees to the people she hired to serve her needs. These extreme expectations give the impression that J.Lo demands absolute perfection from her staff, and if they fail to meet her standards, she's quick to dismiss them. It's no wonder that many drivers allegedly refuse to work with her after hearing about these stories.
Jacob alleges that he was publicly berated by J.Lo's manager, Benny Medina, and Jenny didn't pay him his alleged salary.
But just when you thought things couldn't get messier, it turns out there's some truth to these claims. One of J.Lo's former drivers, Jacob Manoyan, actually sued her. Jacob wasn't just any driver. He began working for J.Lo and Mark Anthony back in 2005 and quickly became close with the couple. Their bond was so strong that J.Lo reportedly convinced Jacob to shut down his own company to work exclusively for her as the head of security and transportation, promising him a hefty annual salary of over $200,000.
Former American Idol judge Jennifer Lopez has filed a $20 million lawsuit against her ex-chauffeur for extortion and defamation after he threatened to release damaging information about her.
Now, even though the legal battle was resolved, it didn't do much for J.Lo's reputation.
However, things started to go south in 2011 when, according to Jacob, J.Lo's manager, Benny Medina, began stirring up trouble. Jacob alleged that Benny didn't like him and eventually convinced J.Lo to demote him. Suddenly, Jacob went from being the head of security to just a regular driver in Los Angeles, which clearly marked a sharp decline in his role and relationship with J.Lo. J.Lo countersued Jacob for extortion, feeling disrespected and sidelined. Jacob claimed that he was forced to resign, and after leaving, he filed a lawsuit against J.Lo and Benny Medina for unspecified damages. But J.Lo didn't take this lying down. She countered by claiming that his lawsuit was an attempt to blackmail her. While J.Lo's countersuit was dismissed in late 2012, the original lawsuit was eventually settled out of court with undisclosed terms, leaving many details of the case and settlement still unclear. Even though the legal battle was resolved, it didn't do much for J.Lo's reputation. The fact that someone who once had such a close working relationship with her felt mistreated and demoted adds fuel to the fire. It's another example of how tough it allegedly is to work with her. With stories like these piling up, it's no wonder people are questioning whether her recent charity efforts are genuine or just a PR stunt to improve her image.
Second story, she was with Ben, I believe at MGM or whichever casino, and Ben's a great tipper and he respects service workers, and so he tipped a lot of people a lot of money that night. Jennifer goes around to each of those people and takes back the tip and gives them maybe $5-10.
Adding to the controversy is a reputation for not tipping. Over the years, multiple stories have surfaced about J.Lo being stingy when it comes to tipping, further adding to her image as a difficult person to work with. Even though the legal battle was resolved, it didn't do much for J.Lo's reputation. The fact that someone who once had such a close working relationship with her felt mistreated and demoted adds fuel to the fire. It's another example of how tough it allegedly is to work with her. With stories like these piling up, it's no wonder people are questioning whether her recent charity efforts are genuine or just a PR stunt to improve her image. Adding to the controversy is a reputation for not tipping. Over the years, multiple stories have surfaced about J.Lo being stingy when it comes to tipping, further adding to her image as a difficult person to work with. And the worst part is, some folks are claiming that J.Lo doesn't just avoid tipping herself, but allegedly stops Ben Affleck from tipping too. Imagine that, being wealthy beyond belief yet holding back on something as basic as tipping service workers.
So here's a little story time of when I met one of J.Lo's backup singers at a Tony Robbins event nonetheless, and she gave me the inside scoop of what J.Lo is really like and what it's like to work with her. And to be honest, after that, I've never looked at J.Lo the same, unfortunately.
One of the most talked about incidents involves a casino worker who had been serving Ben all night. According to the story, Ben, feeling generous, handed the worker a whopping $10,000 tip. Pretty nice, right? Well, here's where it gets messy. When J.Lo found out about it, she allegedly took the money back, You can probably imagine how upset that worker was. Thankfully, Ben later made things right by sending her a bouquet of flowers and an even bigger tip of $25,000 to apologize for the awkward situation.
He was so mean to her backup singers, and if you were pretty or if you were a Latina, like, game over. Like, she straight up hated you.
J-Lo allegedly telling Ben not to tip doesn't stop there. Several stories have surfaced where J-Lo was overheard telling Ben not to tip at all. Apparently, she's micromanaging even the small things like tipping. Fans have been quick to point out that for someone with her level of wealth, this behavior seems not only petty but straight up dismissive toward the people who serve her. With stories like these floating around, it's hard for people to buy into her sudden show of generosity during the wildfires. I mean, how are you going to ask people to donate when you allegedly can't even leave a decent tip for someone working hard to serve you? J-Lo's treatment of backup singers has also come under scrutiny. According to a story that went viral on TikTok, J-Lo allegedly has a habit of being cold toward women she views as competition, especially Latina women or those she thinks are too attractive. One former backup singer claimed that during rehearsals, J-Lo rarely acknowledged them, only offering the occasional eye roll or scoff. Imagine putting in all that work, being part of her team, and getting treated like you don't exist.
But it was just always fascinating to me because I did get a moniker of being like a diva, which I never felt I deserved, which I don't deserve.
It gets even worse. The same backup singer claimed that J-Lo's attitude would do a complete 180 when men entered the room. Suddenly, she was all smiles and charm. This behavior gives off a diva vibe, and for someone who brands herself as an empowering icon, stories like these do not sit right with people. The doorman incident has really raised eyebrows. Apparently, the doorman made the mistake of simply looking at J-Lo instead of addressing her directly, and she reportedly started yelling at another staff member. She demanded his firing, saying, "So much for Jenny from the block." If true, that's beyond ridiculous. It adds to the growing list of claims that J-Lo isn't as down-to-earth as she likes to portray herself. Then there's the gum incident, which takes disrespect to a whole new level. A resurfaced clip has gone viral showing J-Lo walking through the streets of New York City with what looks like a co-star or a friend. The gum incident really took people by surprise. In the resurfaced clip, J-Lo casually spits her used gum into her assistant's hand, rather than using a napkin or finding a trash can. Fans were shocked by the audacity, with many describing her behavior as rude and nasty. It definitely doesn't align with the image of humility and grace she often portrays. These stories about J-Lo's behavior paired with her past questionable PR moves have caused many fans to take sides. Social media is filled with comparisons, with some praising Jennifer Garner for her genuine efforts while criticizing J-Lo for what seems like performative charity. The recent charity efforts, particularly around the wildfires, are being viewed by many as a way to control her public image, rather than offering real, heartfelt help. It's certainly a difficult picture for J-Lo to recover from, with many questioning her true character behind the scenes. It seems like the situation has sparked a lot of debate. Fans are divided, with some siding with Jennifer Garner for her quieter, more genuine approach to charity, while others question J-Lo's motivations behind her recent efforts. The rumored tension between Ben and J-Lo only adds another layer of intrigue. Many are wondering if Ben's reaction to J-Lo's charity efforts is connected to their relationship, or if it's just another piece of drama.